Good morning. It's Sunday morning, and so it is time for a Sunday thought. Yesterday, I had a friend of mine phone me and then send me a email that a friend had sent to her and wanted to ask me my thoughts on the email, which I read and phoned my friend back, gave her my thoughts on it, but it left me with some thinking of how people do not really accept responsibility for where they are or what has happened. I forgot to do my vocal exercises before. I usually sing or do something, and my throat hasn't talked this morning yet. So, okay, that's what we get as a gravelly voice. But let's go back to this. Life is a lot of experiences. And many people that are on the path of finding spiritual awareness or spiritual understanding try many, many different techniques. Now, I was one of those people that began quite early and had some very good basic teachings to begin with and grew from there, from my interests, things that came to me, and some of them I just put to the side because I realized that's not quite who I am or what I am about. But other people seem to want to put, the old saying, put all your eggs in one basket, like, oh, I'll do this and that's going to be perfect. All right. And so what I found in my life was the end being is that you need to accept responsibility for yourself, for your growth, for your beliefs, for your attitudes, and not move into a blame frame when something doesn't quite work out the way you want. Or it's almost like jumping a ship. The people call it jumping ships. Like you have one idea, so this is it. And then instead of incorporating as you move forward, it's like you reject that. No, that's not what I want. This is where it's going to be at. And then when that doesn't really satisfy, then it's the same thing. It's kind of reject. And we used to call it the blame game, the blame frame game that people play, where we blame others, where we blame life, where we blame God, or we blame all sorts of other things as to why things are happening. But not once do we look in the mirror and look at what we're contributing to that. Now, those of you that have listened to me from time to time will have heard me talk about our subconscious, the beliefs that we have from our subconscious, which to me come from other lifetimes. And what happens, as far as I'm concerned, and I've seen it at conception, but usually it starts around 2 months and there's an embryo stage when the mother's emotions begin to kick in. When you have a feeling, you reach back to the last time you experienced the feeling and you make the same decision. So your decisions become really, really important. And you've got to realize those are your decisions. You're the one that are making that decision. You're the one that's making those concepts or whatever they may be. And when you begin to grow up, it is very often easy to begin to blame others. Well, it's their fault, or they didn't do this right, or whatever. A million thoughts you can have up there as to what it's all about. But the reality is, we have time periods in our lives when we're not that happy. We have time periods when things seem to go all the wrong way. But what is that really contributing is our sense of how we will assume responsibility for our actions, our thoughts. Again, if you've listened to me, you'll hear me think how important our thinking is. Maybe I need to do another talk on that because I really haven't done that for a while. Sometimes we get very sad over things, losses, people leaving. Our belief of life after death can be very important. And so when somebody dies, we miss them, yes. But if we do not have a belief system that incorporates that, then that begins to also make it feel really like, Wow. And again, it's somebody else's fault rather than it's life. Life is a pure, it's not a straight line. It's life comes in, comes out. We have some, but what's important is your philosophy towards life. What's important is where is your faith? What do you really believe? Now, I found for myself that a lot of my faith grew through time and experience and awareness, as well as learning, doing what I needed to do. That's where I began to find and looking into myself that the force of love that exists. That's when I also, through experiences that I had, to begin to appreciate our planet that we live on, and that our planet absolutely is a force of love. That the essence of whether we believe, how we believe, I should say, is in a higher power, how that works, if that works in an effective way, and what name you call it really doesn't matter. It's the energy of the loving force that's there that supports you. Now, referring back to the email that I read, the one thing I said to my friend in reading through this, a lot of words for sure. There was not one mention in there about prayer and how prayer works. There was not one I should say, one of the biggest things, I went looking for a prayer method that worked. And I believe I found one, which I have utilized ever since, which is a lot of years now. Mental mind treatments, I use the technique there. Now, how do you cope and deal and handle when life doesn't go the way you want? Life isn't always like a bed of roses, as they say. Life has its ups and downs. What is your resilience? Or do you blame others? It was their fault. It was circumstances. It wasn't really about what you were doing. Now, I just have to make one more comment here before I complete. The one thing about this particular, I have to watch my inner language on this because I wasn't very impressed by this person's writing, was that there was no real depth. There was no real understanding of love. There was no real, it was like, oh, I've looked here and I've looked there and I've done that and it's all wrong and it's all bad and all the demons are behind it and all that. It was kind of like, I'm sitting and I really thought, but there's nothing here that really talks about the embracing of a force and an energy of love that sustains you. So that when life isn't always going the way you want it, you have an essence of understanding. You have a sense of strength. You have we would call it faith. So the question for this Sunday would be, what is your faith? What do you have faith in? Sometimes we have faith in many different things, but what do we really believe about life? What is it we're looking forward to? What is it we do? How do we handle sadness? Do we blame others for it? Or do we accept responsibility that we've put ourselves here? Or do we look deeper to find how we are here, like how we're here? Sometimes when we, like a lot of us believe that, yes, we do create a lot of our vibration by how we think, feel, and respond. I always add those three. It's not just thinking, it's how we feel and how we're responding to things. But but there's more than that. There is that belief in the larger power that works with you and for you, that loves you and cares about you and wants you to succeed in whatever it is, because basically love just wants the best and where it is. So take a look at your life. Do you have anything that you blame that's not your responsibility? So there's a blame about that? Or is it just how you're responding to some of the things you don't like in life? And you accept that. It's the responsibility. I have lots of things I don't particularly like what's been going on in the last few years. And I accept that responsibility that I just don't like that. But I don't blame. It's like I don't get over the edge, I might say, because things haven't worked out exactly the way I want them to work out. So that's our Sunday thought today. I did a little bit of thinking on that to work it, to have it come so a little bit coalescent. And if I sound a little out weird, That's because it was like, how do I put this together? Then also, I just want to say thank you for watching. And also remember that Monday night, which is tomorrow night at 7, we do mental mind treatments, which is using a method of prayer, is using also the abilities that I have, that I've worked with to create in my life. And also to just really understand how life is kind of like the picture that comes in my mind is like a vine, and things mingle and blend together. It's not always separate. I'm thinking of a plate of food. Some people I know mix everything up, and others like it all very set, different and separated. And in some ways, the separational element of life is the recognition of where things sit. Now, I'm a reincarnationist. I believe in reincarnation, and that helps me so often in recognizing the big picture, not just the little picture, not just the little bit we're looking at. And so, anyway, we cover those kind of things on Monday night in particular, because it's dealing with other people, and it's like I just go where that takes me to a large degree. But also, then of course on Wednesday is Norma's thought. So let's just you have a great Sunday. It's July 2nd. Summer is here. It's been warm here. I hope it's warm where you are. I know my family in New Zealand are having a lot of rain and coolness. So I'm enjoying this up here. Wish you well, many blessings, and please enjoy this Sunday. Thanks. Bye for now.